Right, so I did a bug report on this a while ago. The the conclusion that I had in the last bug report, while it was correct, it wasn't very clear on what my conclusion was. So I'll show a video right here. I'll show two back to back. One of them I got my tail shot out at 100 and then dropped, and took the normal about 60% damage. And then the second clip is of switching away from the F1 seat, the pilot seat, shortly before you hit the ground. And as you'll see in a moment, you will take less damage when you do that. And I'll explain that in a second. Right, so here's the damage comparison between the two. You can pull it off a bit better if you do it around 28. I filmed the video for the last bug report, and that was a while ago. And I've continued testing a bit. So what causes this is that the helicopter, the client flying the helicopter will send packets to the server saying on where the helicopter is now, but the client never actually tells the server how fast it's going. This is pretty easy to tell because the server doesn't actually broadcast it to the other clients, and that's the reason that if you sit on the co-pilot seat and you look at the MFDs, you will actually not see the speed of the helicopter. It'll just say 0 knots because the server actually was never told of how fast the helicopter was going. It takes the packets of the helicopter and broadcasts them to the other players. And in this case, you can see that in the moment you take away the client that's controlling the helicopter, the server is fucked because it doesn't know how fast the helicopter is going. It doesn't know what it's supposed to do with that helicopter now, so it just sets all values to 0, and then will start calculating its own rotation and drop. So the easiest that you can see from this is that the rotation of the helicopter. So let's say client calculates it, and in the moment you take it away, the server doesn't know how fast the helicopter is going, so it will just start spinning like you just got your tail shot out. And then if you switch back to the pilot seat after you've hit the ground, you'll actually accelerate a bunch because the client that was controlling the helicopter still knows how fast the helicopter is moving and will try to adjust that. But of course the helicopter already hit the ground, it shouldn't accelerate. Alright, and the next video shows of what it looks from the outside, so if you're the one shooting out the tail, it's pretty easy to see the helicopter will drop. It'll start to gain speed because it was in a perfect hover when you hit it. And eventually the pilot switches off that F1 seat. Server has no idea how fast the helicopter was moving, so we'll set all the values to 0, and then we'll start calculating the rotation again, which the client did after the tail rotor loss. And then once the pilot switches back on the ground, it will actually accelerate because the client remembers how fast the helicopter is going and tries to adjust for the fact that he was missing. Alright, the same thing happens with engine loss. If your engine gets knocked out, you will reach terminal velocity. If you hit the ground, you're dead, always, no matter what. But if you switch seats, it'll reset the velocity because, server has no idea. And you will take less damage because, of course, lower velocity, lower damage. Right. So there's a pretty at least in my mind a pretty simple fix for this. Just have the client broadcast the like values that it's working with, the variables that it's using in its calculations, just have them broadcast that with the position of the helicopter. And the moment the client no longer is in the pilot seat, you just have the server take those values that it was last given and then calculate the rotation with that. And if it hits the ground at a high velocity, I'll die or take more damage than what you take at the moment.